A former Halo developer named Max Hoberman from the OG days when it comes to Halo 2 and Halo 3 has been speaking out what he thinks about modern skill-based matchmaking. He has been quite frank and direct in his thoughts and also criticism when it comes to modern skill-based matchmaking. So former Bungie multiplayer lead Max Hoberman argues modern multiplayer games do a disservice to players by only serving them even matchups, citing his work on Halo 3 as how to do matchmaking right. This is quite interesting, I think, also being one of those guys that used to play quite a lot of Halo 3 back in the days. Ranked filtered opponents based on level. This was for when you wanted a competitive match, says Hoberman in a tweet thread. But even then, I intentionally allowed variability in the range of levels we matched you with. This comes from a person that was the online lead on Halo 2 and Halo 3, who laid out 3 types of matches that Halo's matchmaker was designed to serve players. 1 was an easier match you were likely to win. 2 was a harder one where you were outmatched, and 3 an even matchup. By doing so, you were able to get a variation of gameplay experiences instead of just being matched with players on your own skill level or above all the time, which will constantly put you under stress or pressure, at least for some gamers or a huge part of the community also here when it comes to Call of Duty. Max Hoberman continues, the failure of modern skill-based matchmaking, in my opinion, is that it's designed to maximize these perfect match scenarios and minimize the others, he said. When it's working, a majority of games become super tight, super stressful, and that's not fun for most players. Where's the variability? I believe that this is an interesting but also important take on the whole SBMM topic and system, since it goes against the more common so-called wisdom today, where you expect that creating fair matches and only fair matches produces the best results. By doing so and using that kind of system, a lot of the modern games such as Counter-Strike 2, League of Legends, Apex Legends, Rainbow Six Siege, to mention some, often means that the majority of players can quickly find matches, but the top 10% of players will have to wait a lot longer. Because of this, Max Hoberman said, segregating high-skilled players from the population at large, forcing long wait times on them, is a form of discrimination. One way of dealing with this issue is to have designed skill variance in unranked and ranked modes. Many games do this when it comes to unranked scenarios. Casual playlists often prioritize finding matches quickly over finding players of similar skill, or establish a separate MMR, which means matchmaking rating, for unranked versus ranked. Most multiplayer games have their casual MMR values hidden. Some, though, will criticize Max Hoberman's statements as incomplete, since many of the players that are playing competitive wants to prove their skill against the rest of the community, so they therefore like to know that the game is trying to give you a somewhat fair challenge at every step of the way. So with that said, a lot of these players would most likely say no when it comes to deliberately be given unfair matchups part of the time. But I believe that has mainly to do with ultra-competitive games such as Counter-Strike 2, League of Legends and similar titles mentioned earlier. But what about skill-based matchmaking in an arcade shooter such as Call of Duty then? Well, Hoberman's vision for skill-based matchmaking is more or less what I believe that a majority in the Call of Duty community constantly has been asking for. Max Hoberman says, the system that I designed for ranked playlists ensured a healthy mix. Sure, it sucks watching your favorite team get their butt kicked, he said, but it becomes full circle when they're the ones kicking butt. Throw in tight, evenly matched games every so often, and that's a ton of fun. We know that there's skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty, although Activision doesn't want to talk about how it actually works. The experiences vary when you ask people about their skill-based matchmaking experiences when it comes to Call of Duty, but many players believe it's too sweaty of an experience, but it also delivers fluctuations in the perceived skill of their opponents from match to match. And that results in a frustrating back-to-back experience when it comes to either getting stomped or being the one doing the stomping. skill-based matchmaking has indeed become a controversial and hot topic among most players in the recent years, where many players are against matches where you're supposed to always play with equals or above, call it somewhat fair or not. But instead, a lot of Call of Duty players instead wants the Hoberman style of skill-based matchmaking, where everyone has an equal chance to have a bad or good time. Some critics would say that this would lead to the fact that the few top skill players out there would have a much bigger chance to find an easy match compared to the bottom that are then likely to have a majority of somewhat bad matches and experiences. Well, I guess this discussion and different takes on skill-based matchmaking shows that it's quite complex, but also that there is no such thing such as pleasing everybody. So what way should it be? Do you think the old skill-based matchmaking way a la Hoberman is a better way to balance out and maybe get a milder experience when it comes to the skill-based matchmaking in a game such as Call of Duty? Or do you prefer it in the way it is today, meaning doing its best to at least most of the time trying to match you against people with your own skill level or above? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Before we finish for today, I do want to say a few things about the War mode in Modern Warfare 3 that I've been playing in this video. This is a mode that differs some from the rest of the respawn game modes in Modern Warfare 3 and therefore brings a bit of fresh air into a game that elsewise feels mostly like a reskin of the former title, meaning Modern Warfare 2 2022. The game mode isn't flawless, meaning that there are room for improvements also here. However, the biggest problem right now, or at least one of them, is the fact that there's only one map available. Since so much of the content in Modern Warfare 3 is somewhat recycled from former titles, I was at least hoping and also expecting that there would be at least one more War mode map available at launch, or at least close to launch. It feels as they've been a bit lazy here, if I gotta be honest. Because if we won't see another War mode map soon, I'm afraid that the game mode will lose popularity and therefore have a hard time to recover, if you will, even if they add another War mode map later down the line. Because content is key when it comes to keeping the most busy players engaged within the community, so I really hope that they at least drop another War mode map when Season 1 starts in the beginning of December. Because if they don't, we might have to wait for months before another War mode map will see the daylight. With that said, I want to say thank you for watching, and I love to hear from you what you think, maybe about War mode, but also skill-based matchmaking when it comes to this new take, or an old take on skill-based matchmaking when it comes to the former lead developer when it comes to matchmaking in games such as Halo 2 and Halo 3. Guys, thanks for watching, have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon again. Alright, bye-bye.